Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. We are back once again with my Rebuilding Blank series. I put out a poll a couple of weeks ago for what team you guys wanted to see rebuilt next. Now, some things changed, so I needed to do an update to the TSM rebuild, but I still want to honor those polls. I still want to give you guys what you are looking for. So today we are going to be rebuilding Team Vitality, which I actually think is a pretty interesting rebuild. They have a couple expiring contracts. They have a bunch of different ways they could go this offseason. And what's actually kind of interesting with Team Vitality is they have some money to spend. You know, in Europe, obviously the teams are not as rich as, say, North America or China or something like that. So a lot of the teams end up getting kind of handcuffed with money issues and being like, okay, well, that player is just way too expensive, especially once G2 comes in or, NA teams come in, or maybe even Fnatic now with the Crypto.com money. Who knows? But Vitality is a fun one. They have some talent. They have some ways they could go, but they also have some positions that could definitely use some upgrades as well. So I think this will be a pretty interesting rebuild. So I'm glad you guys voted for it. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate it so much. These videos are a little bit different than what I usually post, so getting that extra support on them really helps the videos perform, and really just makes it, overall better for me. I would appreciate a ton. I think these videos are fun to make. I want to keep making them, but not if the support's not there. Definitely subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content so you guys don't miss out on any of the videos we have going on this offseason. Tons of awesome content coming your way, and consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm. With that being said, here we go. We're back on the Excel spreadsheet. This thing is, the mastermind of these rebuild videos of all the offseason content. This has the free agents from a ton of the different worlds. On the left side, we have like the top North American players. That was just from another video. But we do have, NA free agents, EU free agents, the top tier of EU free agents that I would call them. And then we have a couple different, like Chinese, Korean free agents and stuff like that. Just some other interesting names. So first, I want to take a look at Vitality. I want to set some goals for them. The number one goal I want to say is, this Vitality super team. It's kind of a meme at this point. Vitality every offseason, it's like, oh, Vitality's going to send out some crazy offers. They're going to form a super team. Last offseason, it was Vitality's getting perks. They're going to build this crazy team around him. We're hearing the same things this offseason. We heard the same things in 2019. And so far, it hasn't happened. I mean, Vitality fields this roster with Segenda, Leader, Lebrov, some solid players, but not a super team. Nobody crazy, nothing too insane. But they do actually have a couple pieces now. Selfmade, I think, is pretty good. Crownshot, I think, is pretty good. Over the last couple of splits, they've started to piece together what is not a super team, but it's starting to become at least some very, very talented players, starting to become a more talented roster. So is there some way this offseason we could maybe get that Vitality super team? Maybe. I think it's unlikely. I think it's more of a meme than not, but, it's pretty decent. I think goal number 2 is get some star. Get at least one star player. If you're not going to get the super team, get at least a super position. Get a guy that is exciting. Not only good to play around, going to help you win a bunch more games, going to help you, improve off what you did in 2021, but also build the fan base. Give people a reason to tune in. I watched a lot of Vitality games this last split. They're honestly one of the EU teams that I watched the most games of, because I thought they were interesting. I really like watching Selfmade. You never know what he's going to do. He can 1v9. It's almost more interesting when he's not on that good of a team, but if you want people to keep caring, you can't be a 5th, 6th place team in the LEC. You need to get at least one more good player that's interesting. It'll help your content, help your brands, and again, help you on the Rift as well. Because when I look at their roster, I'm just kind of bored. It's not a whole lot of excitement. They're a solid team. They're not great. They're not terrible. So they're just kind of, lost in the middle. I want to see them improve a little bit on that. And then, I think one of the outside goals is make Worlds. If at all possible, I think going to Worlds, trying to get that 3 seed for the LEC would be a very, very good goal for this team. Maybe that's not a 2022 goal. Maybe that's a 2023 goal. Maybe we still need some more time. But I think that should definitely be in the minds of the Vitality general managers when building their offseason. So when we take a look at what we have as far as the resources, in the top lane, we have Segenda, who has an expiring contract in 2022. We have SLT in the top lane as well. He has an expiring contract in 2023, but obviously he got demoted in the middle of the season. Who knows if he'll be back? Who knows if he'll be the starting top laner? We have Selfmade, who has an expiring contract in 2021, but the latest rumor is that, this is from some very, very reliable sources, that he has actually re-signed until 2022, so we have that there. Obviously, we have Leader in the mid lane. He is signed for one more full year. Crowny is set to be a free agent. I've actually talked to Crownie in the DMs, me and him actually going back and forth. He still has not re-signed. He is still expiring in 2021. We'll see if he, gets brought back to Vitality, but there's at least a potential to change there. And then we also have Labrov, who is signed until 2022 as well. So let's get into what some of the possible lineup changes could look like for this team. So first off, I think Selfmade is locked in. Obviously, they just re-signed him. Selfmade wants to stay. Obviously, he's a guy worth taking. I think he is still one of the best junglers in Europe. I think people were kind of unfairly down on him this year. People going into the year, people were saying he's maybe the best jungler or maybe best player in Europe. People are a little bit down on him. I think he played on a not great Fnatic team in the spring, and then I think he played on a not great Vitality team in the summer. I really think this guy, I think you look at his stats, you look at his gameplay, he was still absolutely top tier. Just because, maybe his teams didn't have the results, or maybe, he didn't have as crazy of a year as people expected. I still think this guy is absolute class, and I think if you can get a better team around him, I mean, look at his solo laners. His solo laners were Leader and Sagenda and SLT, some of, the weaker solo laners in the entire league, and this guy still put up numbers. He has to play for himself, and I think he's been doing a great job. I really expect to be, him to be around. I think he's a cornerstone of this team. It also seems like Leader is locked in for this lineup as well. Leader and Selfmade, have a very, very good relationship. It seems like Selfmade likes playing with Leader, wants to play with Leader. I am going to put together some rosters, swapping him out. Also, you got to decide what's going to go on with the top lane between Sagenda and SLT. I was really, really high on SLT, and he started strong, but he kind of faded. Sagenda, I'm still not super high on. Obviously, he came back and was a little bit better. We'll see. Obviously, there is one of these lineups where you could just kind of bring back this exact same team. You have everybody except for Crownie under contract. If you re-sign Crownie, you could bring this team back. But I really don't think that would be that good of a move. Again, you're not spending any of this money. You're not getting a new star. You're not getting any closer to making Worlds. I don't think this team would make Worlds. I think you need to start making some big adjustments. So one of the big adjustments you can make is there are some rumors of Labrov going to G2, obviously. G2 being very, very interested in him. You could make the Mickey for Labrov trade, and then instantly, does your team get better? I don't know. I think Mickey's probably better than Labrov right now. Obviously, Labrov maybe has a brighter future ahead of him. We'll see how that goes, but I think Crownie and Mickey together would be a very, very interesting lane. That could be a possible option. Mickey obviously is a more popular player, bigger fan base, bigger personality, bigger brand than Labrov, so I think that would be cool business-wise for this team. You also have the possibility of maybe getting the package deal of Wonder and Mickey coming over from G2, and then you really have an interesting team because, I think these two players are good. I think Wonder is a huge upgrade in the top lane for Vitality, and again, this is them actually spending some of that money. We know G2 is interested in selling these players. We know Carlos likes getting his money. We know Vitality has that money to throw around and spend. I think this is a very, very likely Vitality roster in 2022. I think it is absolutely possible. Then, obviously, you have some worlds where maybe they decide to hang on to Labrov. I do think some of the possible changes, I think Wonder actually in the top lane is a guy that I'm definitely looking out for, and I definitely think is very, very possible. I'm not really sold on Leader. I do think that actually Leader is going to be their mid laner for 2022, but I think there are some other names that would be interesting. I think it would be very, very cool to see a Jizuke return to Vitality, and if we saw something like this lineup with Wonder, Selfmade, Jizuke, Crownie, and Labrov, I think all of a sudden that's a very, very interesting team. That's a team that could absolutely, in my opinion, be that 3 seed in the LEC and headed to Worlds. I think this team would be really, really cool. I don't really see any, clear weaknesses on this team. Yes, maybe you can say Wonder's not having that great of a year. Maybe Jizuke you're not sold on anymore. Maybe the bot lane. I don't know, but I think this team would be good, and I think they would actually work really, really well together. As far as some of maybe the other, mid lane possibilities, obviously I see Magic Felix, I see Nuke Duck. I don't know. I don't love Nuke Duck, but I think he would be an upgrade over Leader. Same thing with Magic Felix. Again, not necessarily a guy I'm totally sold on, but I think he would be an upgrade there. There are some other ways you could go as well in the mid lane, obviously with Felix and Nuke Duck, guys like that. If you don't decide to go with Crownie, I think the 80 carry options, there are some other options, but I don't really think there's anything that too crazy stands out to me. I think Patrick could be a possibility, but would that be, is Patrick an upgrade over Crown Shot? I think they're pretty close. Some people are going to say Patrick's better. Some people are going to say Crown Shot's better, but if Crown Shot does leave and decide, take a big offer somewhere else, that is at least another option that they have at 80 carry. I think another interesting option for them is also Treats in the support. This is if they do decide to, sell off Labrov to G2. You have, you could do a Patrick's Treat lane. You could do a Crownie and Treats lane. And again, I think this is a very, very solid team. you throw Leader back in the mid lane, you at least have a less experienced player that's maybe building towards the future a little bit. My one problem with the roster like this for Vitality is that I don't think they're top tier. I don't think a roster like this is going to compete for championships, and I hate that they don't necessarily have any young developing talent for the future. So if I was doing things, I would be fine with something like an SLT in the top lane and a Jizuke in the mid lane. Just because I really am not sold on Leader. I really don't think he's been that good. I think this past season, even the meta was his kind of champions. He got to play a lot of melee champions and it really suited his style well. But what if that's not the meta for long? First of all, I didn't even think he was that good in 2021, but if the meta changes a lot into 2022, I think this could get really, really ugly for them. So I would definitely be looking at some other mid lane options. I think another very, very interesting guy, if you do want to get kind of some young talent, what if they got Seiken from K-Corp and then threw Wonder up in the top lane? I think all of a sudden this is a very, very good team. And I think this is also very, very possible for them. Wonder, Selfmade, Seiken, Crowny, and Labrov. I think this team is a very, very good mix of young, inexperienced talent, but also veterans that are good enough to play right now. Now, would this team get that 3 seed in the LEC? I don't know, but they would at least compete. I think this would be an improvement from 2021. You'd get to spend some money. You'd build up your fan base a little bit, and I think this team would be pretty interesting and fun to watch. I think there is an outside chance that they could, maybe go after somebody like a Reckless. There are those rumors, but again, we've heard that Reckless and Selfmade don't really like playing together, so I don't think that this is super, super possible. I think it is actually pretty unlikely. Obviously, there is rumors that Carzzy could definitely be on the market as well, but again, even though he hasn't re-signed with Mad, I don't think he would leave Mad to go to Vitality, so that's why I'm not really considering Reckless or Carzzy in this. Kaiser has obviously been re-signed. We talked about Patrick. Could Hylissang potentially come to Vitality? That would be an interesting name. I mean, maybe you get a Reckless Hilly, them teaming back up. That could be possible. You could also, get like a Reckless Treats lane or something like that. There's all the different possibilities of Reckless coming over, but I think that is pretty unlikely. I also think Hilly leaving Fnatic to come to Vitality is pretty unlikely. It depends, I guess, what the relationship between Hilly and Selfmade is. And then, other than that, there's not a whole lot of other names that really are too interesting to me. If you don't think it is going to be Wonder in the top lane, I think Herit could be a very, very interesting name if Razork does decide to leave Misfits and Misfits goes with their Academy jungler. They could also go with their Academy top laner, and then Herit could potentially be on the move. I think he would definitely have to be on the radar of Vitality. I think he'd be an upgrade from either SLT or Sagenda. And then again, that's another guy that potentially makes his team a lot better. And then maybe, you slot in Mickey into the support and you go Herit. Again, I think Leader will be back. But Herit, Selfmade, Leader, Crowny, and Mickey, again, I think that's probably a better team than they had in 2021. And I think it is a realistic option. So, at the end of the day, I think there is a ton of different options for Vitality. I think if I'm them, the roster that I probably like the most is going with something like this. I think or even keeping Labrov with either support. I don't know how realistic it is to get Wonder and Mickey because I just don't know how likely Carlos is to sell both of them off to the same team because then, they might come back and be better than us the next year. But I think this roster actually looks very, very interesting. I think re-signing Crownshot is a very good move. I think he is a very, very talented player. I expect Selfmade to be back. Using those two guys as kind of the cornerstones to build around for the future, I think is a good idea. But I also still do like having at least like one ERL player to kind of build around, whether that's a top laner, whether that's a mid laner, whoever. And you want to compete now, you want to be good now, but I still think Vitality is like a year or two away from really being a top team. But they do have some options. And again, got to keep Jizuke in mind. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think Vitality's roster should look like in 2022. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully, I'll catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.